Okay, so here we go on the Five Kingdoms. So the Five Kingdoms, pretty straightforward. You kind of really, what can I say? You just have to learn it. And however you do it, flashcards, your gel pens, your mind maps, whatever, you just have to learn the characteristics that the members of the Five Kingdoms all share in common. Now, bearing in mind, this is a big group, so it's the biggest group apart from a domain. So pretty much you're narrowing it down to just a few things, and probably the best way to approach this is to have a look at a few of the questions that Dr. Savile's really kindly put on Moodle, and pick out the things that come up again and again and again. What are they needing to know about these Five Kingdoms? You know, utilise those mark schemes. And what can I say? That's my advice. Take it or leave it. So, what are our Five Kingdoms? Let's start with the one that we're in, which is the Animalia. So animals, as you know, come in a great variety of sizes and shapes, and so what do they all, absolutely all, have in common? Well, you know, you did GCSE. You know the difference at the cellular level. So, what do we know about animals? Well, they've got no cell wall. What else do we know about them? They pretty much have to eat stuff to stay alive. So, without exception, they are all heterotrophic. What else do we need to know about animals? I can't think of anything. That's kind of it for me. But you know, and you need a couple of examples. So you need to be able to recognise an animal if you see one. I can't imagine that this is too difficult for you, to be honest. And just look what the syllabus says. Multicellular. Oh, there we go. So you need an example, and you need to know that they're multicellular. So there are other multicellular kingdoms, but pretty much we're multicellular. And what do you know from core? Therefore, organised into tissues. Our next most familiar kingdom, I think, is the Plantae, doing them in a nice green colour. So what do we know about the plants? Well, they do have a cell wall, but we need to add something else in, because there are loads of other things that have a cell wall, and it's made of cellulose. They are, in the main, photoautotrophs. I can think of a few parasitic plants that aren't, but let's not worry about those. And again, these are multicellular, and as part of that cellularity, they're organised into tissues, and you'll see why I keep saying this in a minute. And you might put something about chlorophyll, perhaps, clutching at straws. And then we come to the fungi. One of the red, I think. My like kind of, you know, and you need a couple of examples. So you need to know that things like mosses and ferns and trees and shrubs and herbs are all plants. And just pick one, you know. Putting plants into Google Images, pick one that you like the look of, keep it in mind. And then we've got the fungi. Now my favourite fungus is the one that the fairies live under. So I pretty much, when I say fungi, I see a little red-capped mushroom. And again, these are organisms with a cell wall. This time it's made of chitin. which obviously we find in insects as well, and crustaceans, and all the arthropods have chitin exoskeletons. So it's not a unique substance to fungi, but it is what their cell walls are made up of. They are heterotrophs, so none of them photosynthesize like Animalia. So these are our, where we're going to come across them. We're going to come across them when we look at decomposers in component 1. They can be multicellular or they can be unicellular, so we're not going to put that down. So 2 words to look out for: mycelium and hyphae. You see, either of those 2 words, definitely looking at a fungus. So what in the world do those mean? Well, remember when we did nutrition, we said that fungi have these sort of long filaments, they produce enzymes, they do the digestion outside, they're saprotrophs, and they reabsorb the products. Those little individual threads are called hyphae. A whole collection of them making one organism is a mycelium. And of course that doesn't, those 2 terms don't apply to unicellular things. So you kind of need to know the example of yeast, which is unicellular, and then any old mushroom or toadstool will do for your multicellular ones. Penicillium, for example, is a multicellular one with a spreading hyphae under mycelium. I'm just going to leave the Protoctista till last for reasons that will become obvious. So far we've dealt with things that have a true nucleus, they're eukaryotic, and then of course remember that we also have, and this is pretty much, we also have the prokaryotes. Now their features have not changed since you did core, so we're looking at no membrane bound nucleus, no membranous organelles, we're looking at 70S ribosomes, and we're looking at a cell wall, and don't mind what you call it, you can call it murine, or my favourite, peptidoglycan. And of course that kind of encompasses the archaea as well, the prokaryotes. So that's a bit awkward, isn't it? Because we've said that domains are bigger than kingdoms, but kind of in the prokaryotes it's the other way around. Somebody really needs to sort that out. It could be one of you. So why did I leave this last kingdom till last? Because this is probably one of the most diverse kingdoms. Now, you do need to be able to spell this. Protoctista, prokaryotes, prokaryotes with a K, protoctista with a C. If you do some sort of strange hybrid word where you put a K in this or a C in that, you're not going to get a mark, is the bottom line. So this is the kind of dustbin group of classification. I've all my life felt that this really needs a good sorting. It'll be a button box I'd love to get my hands on. It has members that have cell walls, it has members that don't have cell walls. Some things used to belong to the plants, some things used to belong to the animals. Some things photosynthesize, some things don't, some things do both. So what's the sort of unifying features of that? We can't talk about cell walls, we can't talk about modes of nutrition, we can talk about their cellularity. They are all unicellular. And if they conglomerate together, so if they have many cells, there are no tissues. They're not kind of organised. They're kind of hanging around together, and saying, "Oh, it's all right. I'll be in charge of feeding, and you be in charge of getting water." So it's very cooperative. That is pretty much what you can say about the protocysts. It's just such a diverse sort of dustbin group of classification. So pretty much, if it doesn't belong to animals, plants, fungi or prokaryotes, it's a protocyst. So, examples, what will you come across? You've already come across the amoeba, euglena is a nice one to look at, paramecium, and effectively seaweeds. Spirogyra, which is a pondweed, is also a protocyst. So there's some nice examples for you to look at and hold in your head. The key thing about that is the spelling. So what else can we say about these? Final thing, pick a colour, any colour, Janet. All of these are in that domain Eukaryota. That means that they all have a true membrane-bound nucleus. And you pretty much need to sort of make yourself a table, print some pictures off, get it sorted out.